So let's just do a quick little warm-up. Obviously, you guys can do more of a warm-up. This is super quick because it's only 15 minutes and I'm trying to get you back into your body as quickly as possible. But this, we're really just moving end range of motion as high as you can. Squeeze the other glutes, so we're adding in a little bit of stability. And then we're going to get started right into our HIIT workout. Okay? Bending it, squatting it, shaking it out. Here we go. So first things first, we're doing what are called lunge jumps. So we're just kind of come here, hips to the back, hips right over the back knee, jump and switch, jump and switch. Okay, so when I do lunge jumps, notice my chest is slightly forward, but that doesn't mean that I'm rounding. There's no rounding happening. My core is staying really tight from my back to my front, and I just bend at the hips to push them back as my chest comes forward, and then I switch. So when you do this, you end up using more of your glute activity rather than your quads. Will quads still be working? Heck yes, but it's not putting as much pressure into your knees, which is crucial. Okay, next things up, we have dive bombers, which I love. Totally one of my favorite things to do. So from a down dog position, you're going to think of gliding down from your nose, your chest, and your hips, all the way up, pressing the shoulder blades away, and then you reverse it. So this is what makes it difficult. Hips, nose, forehead, and press. If that is too much, I want you to just think about coming down. Maybe you use your knees for assistance and you press those shoulder blades away from you, and then you just come right back. Okay? Totally fine to do, but if you want to increase that difficulty, you're pressing the shoulder blades away from you and reversing it as you come back up. Okay? Lateral bounds are up next. These are some of my favorite because they really get into your glute med. So instead of a skater, we're actually going to stay up high, squeeze this glute, bring this knee up, and then you switch. Push is, try not to fall. Trying to use that stability. And squeeze, push and squeeze, push and squeeze, okay? So really getting it nice and long here as much as you can and making sure you land and squeeze. Now notice this is also not a big bend onto my knees, so it shouldn't be too much into a single leg position. It shouldn't be too much pressure onto your knees because you barely bend. It's more about the stability and the push, because that's where we get into your stabilizing muscle along the hip, which is called your gluteus medius. Okay, next one, single leg airplanes. So I really like these. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to try not to hit in the back here. So you can have a straight leg in the back, but I want to show you, your knee stays pretty much over your ankle. You're going to rotate one way, come back, rotate the other way, switch. Switch, rotate, rotate. Ooh, I got a good little pop in my hip. Looking from this way, my knee is not over. Hip is really going back. Rotating, rotating, switch, bend, rotate, rotate. So try not to just rotate from your chest, but try to rotate from your hips as much as you can. So we work that stabilizing glute again, but in all angles, which really increases that strength around the hip. Going back into lunge jumps, I'm going to face you. You want to make sure that the knee is not coming in, okay? So you don't want this knee to come on the inside. It just increases the torque around that joint, so it doesn't make it as efficient of a movement, and it could add some patellar pain. Maybe you have recovering from ACL or any other kind of knee injury. Maybe you have IT band syndrome. That can happen from pushing into that knee and having that tightness along. Hopefully you guys are still going. Sometimes I stop and I talk because I'm trying to teach at the same time. I want you to keep going though the entire time. Make sure this stays. Okay. Next, we have dive bombers. Okay, so like I said, the other thing you want to remember with dive bombers is that your arms are not way out here. When you do that, you're actually putting your shoulders into internal rotation. So this is a good way for me to note your body is not strong enough yet to support the system, because it really should be moving in one solid piece, elbows naturally just coming down. They're not forced out, they're not forced in, they're just natural, okay? Forehead, nose, chest, push, really getting out of those ears, pushing away, and then reversing it right back up. As you reverse it, you're actually using your core, your pelvic floor, and your transverse to scoop it up. So it ends up being a little bit of a core stability workout as well. Okay, right back up into my favorite lateral bounds. You will see these in a lot of my HIIT workouts because they're good for the lateral hip. They're good for the stabilizing around your hip. And what also is good, gosh, I need to not fall. That would be good too. But what also is good when we add stability into your hip joint is that we take the pressure off of your low back working so hard, thinking it's all about the core. A lot of times it's all about the hip too. It's all about the feet. So we're actually getting those feet to work, stabilize and squeeze as we push and we land as well. So it becomes a whole body, a whole chain reaction from your foot up to your stabilizing leg, and it becomes really good for the body. Okay? Next one. I get to breathe. Okay. Again, talking about the foot, think about squeezing. So I'm putting all 5 toes out and I'm squeezing it tight, creating more of an arch effect within my foot. My hip goes back and I rotate, open my hip. Whoop, keep that foot and rotate. Okay. The back leg I don't care about as much. So if you want to bend it a little bit, bend it right now. Totally fine. I care more about this foot is squeezing and stabilizing. Core stays tight. You open here, all the while trying to keep that knee from buckling in or buckling out. It's going to have a little bit of movement, but the movement should be from the hips rather than the knee, okay? Also really good stability, not only around the knee, but also the back, okay? Last set. You got it. So you guys can always mute me if you don't want to hear me talk anymore. I prefer to keep talking to you, but totally fine. Okay? Abs staying tight, pressing, chest going forward, hips going back, booty out. You don't want to be here. See how much pressure that puts on my knee if I keep my chest up? It's bad. It's not bad. I don't like to say things are bad. It's just not as efficient and effective of a movement to get into your glutes and your hips like we want to. Thighs are still going to be working. It doesn't mean they have to overwork and drive the movement, okay? Last set of dive bombers. Coming down, pressing out, and then pulling from that belly button all the way back. So you should feel a little bit of a core workout as you pull it back in. Even if you just come from here and you push it back, use this and pull it back in. Coming down and coming back up. Down and back up. And if you're not there yet, maybe you're even using your knees. Okay? Totally fine. Use your knees. Wherever you need to go, this is your workout for your body, listening, observing, becoming aware, and learning. That's it. It's not a competition, because there's always room to grow. Just like I'm not landing as great as I can be here, always room to grow. Okay? So remember that. It's your workout, not anyone else's. And if you guys hear a little bit happening up above us, there's construction going on. So, doing what we can here with what we got. Woo. Going back and forth. Remember, breaks are up to you if you need them. But if you want to make it a little bit harder, we're not taking them. Ready? Stabilizing into that foot, hips driving to the back, knees staying stable, and open. out. Dive your hip, open your hip. If you fall, just come right back into it. That will happen. I suggest looking straight down at the ground the entire time. You have something to focus on. And see how many you can get on each side. Really focusing on that. Open, open. You guys got it. Yes. Yes, you did it. Going right into core now. Okay, so for core, we're going to go on our backs this time. So on your back. Okay, so from here, I want you to feel your rib cage and your belly. Feel it open, expand. Feel it drop. Open, drop. So feel this movement. If you're feeling it way up here, try to bring it back down here. Get your belly and your rib cage to open and drop together. Now breathe out. Feel that belly button come down. Feel the rib cage come down. And now feel your pelvic floor pull up and in. So it's almost like you want to fart, but you don't want to because there's lots of people around, so you're going to suck it in. That feeling. Women pulling blueberries up and in. Men, you're walking into really cold water and you're like, ugh, and you're pulling the balls up and in. So all cues that you can use to kind of help you understand what that feeling is. So we take a breath in, breath out, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, drop the belly button, drop the rib cage. Okay? Now hold here. This doesn't mean you're not going to breathe. We're going to breathe, but we're going to keep all of this tight the entire time. So hip bone to hip bone, squeezing really tight here. Okay? Now we're going to just lift one leg without letting these hip bones move. You're still pulling that pelvic floor up and in. Okay? If you are confused as to whether it's up and in, relax everything, reset, and be like, okay, now I understand what that feeling feels like to pull that pelvic floor up and in. Okay? Again, trying not to let anything move into the hips here and trying not to allow this motion in the back here, okay? Because when that happens, we're actually pulling only from the hip flexor rather than the abdominals, okay? So pulling, oh, that pounding is getting a little louder. Sorry about that. Pulling this up and in, breathing. Okay, then we're going to bring both legs up and we're going to tap it down. Okay, so this is a progression. If you feel it more into the thighs, more into the hip flexors, or anything into the low back, I want you to go back to the first one we did. Okay, really focusing, pulling that pelvic floor up and in. If you forget what it feels like, reset, turn it off, pull it back in. See, oh, can I feel the difference between releasing my pelvic floor and pulling it back in, especially during exercise, okay? So keeping that belly button low, keeping your hips as low as this belly as low as you can, hip bone to hip bone, pulling really tight, rib cage down toward your pelvis, so this stays right in place, okay? And pulling it in. Now hold. So now we're just going to hold it here. Again, even just in a hold, you should be able to feel that firing. Nice and low, pelvic floor up and in, squeezing, shins about parallel to the floor. Okay, now we're going to take these arms right by your side and we're going to think of lifting the chest up to the ceiling. So it's not lifting the chest to the knees, it's actually up to the ceiling. So as my arms reach forward, I'm going to lift my chest up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, think it up. 7, sternum to the ceiling. 8, 9, keep this low. 10, hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, reach 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Shoulder blades off the floor. 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, that's 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Reach. 5. Reach it up. 4. Higher. 3, 2, 1. And down. So the reason we lift the sternum up to the chest or up to the ceiling is because our abs are not like a hamstring. They don't work in a sit-up type motion, in a curl type motion. It is not built like a bicep or a hamstring. It is built as a stabilizer. So the more we can lift up and hold against gravity, that's where it becomes a much better challenge and a much more functional challenge into the body rather than treating it like a muscle. It is not. This is why sit-ups typically are not as effective. Anytime we're pulling and rounding, yes, you might be getting after the aesthetic, but the muscle fibers are built differently than a hamstring and a bicep, so we get to treat it differently. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you're enjoying it. Don't forget to like and comment below to let me know what you think, and subscribe so you don't miss any in the future.